A country where you can leave a wallet of cash on a bench, come back 6 hours later, and find it untouched. The bullet train averages under a minute of delay a year. The cleanest, safest, most polite place humanity ever built, and also one of the loneliest on Earth. Sounds contradictory, and that isn't the darkest part. In this same country, thousands of people die alone, at home every year, found weeks later, when the smell crosses the neighbor's wall. There are men who haven't opened their bedroom door in over 10 years, and a word taught to every child from age 3. Because the most perfect country in the world is also one of the loneliest. The answer hides between the towers of Tokyo, the temples of Kyoto, and the snow of Mount Fuji. You'll find 3 things. First, why the politest country on Earth invented a word only for dying from overwork. Second, how many people at this exact second are locked in their own room. And at the end, the most disturbing profession in Japan, which exists only because of how these people die. This is Japan, land of the rising sun, of robots, manga, and the tea ceremony. The country the world romanticizes in travel photos, but behind the curtain of cherry blossoms is a price almost no outsider sees. Here perfection isn't free. It charges in silence every day from each of its 125 million people. Welcome to the side of the world nobody shows you. December 25th, 2015, Christmas night in Tokyo, city lights blinking 20 floors below a dormitory window. Matsuri Takahashi was 24, a University of Tokyo graduate. She just landed her dream job at Dentsu, Japan's largest advertising agency. His last months he slept 2 hours a night and worked over 100 hours of overtime. That night, she climbed to the roof and didn't come down. Her death was classified by the government with a word that barely exists in any other language. Karoshi, death by overwork. A legal category with a form, compensation, and official statistics since the 80s. The only rich country that needed a legal term for working until the heart stops. And to understand how you get there, go back to age 3. Every Japanese child grows up hearing one word repeated like a mantra. Meiwaku. The nuisance, the trouble you cause others. And rule number 1 of life in society is simple and merciless. Don't be a meiwaku. Don't get in the way. Don't weigh. The Western child learns to express. The Japanese child learns to hold back. It's the base of everything that makes the country run like a clock and the root of what makes it suffer. It explains why nobody speaks on a train, why there are no bins and still no litter. Because they carry their own trash all day so as not to bother anyone. My freedom ends where your discomfort begins. It works beautifully until the person suffering most from your nuisance becomes you. To avoid weighing on others, the Japanese learn early to split 2 things. There's Han, what you truly feel inside, and Tate Me, the polite mask you show outside. You smile, agree, thank, while collapsing inside. It's what makes coexistence smooth and the streets calm. And what makes a Japanese person hide deep suffering behind a perfect good morning. That discipline starts early and produces scenes that startle any American parent. In Japan, it's normal to see a 6-year-old take the subway alone, run errands, and come home with no adult anywhere. There's even a TV show, on air for 30 years, filming small children on their first errand outside. The loneliest country on Earth is one of the safest that ever existed. The safety numbers border on unbelievable. In a city like Chicago, hundreds of people are murdered every year. In Tokyo, the largest metropolis on the planet, with 37 million in the metro area, more people than all of Canada, the homicides for an entire year fit on a few hands. Lost wallets come back with the money inside. And the explanation isn't the police. It's Meiwaku again. Stealing in Japan isn't only breaking the law. It's the supreme nuisance, the maximum shame of causing harm to another human. They go a lifetime without crime, fearing shame on the family, not jail. And that same shame that keeps streets spotless is the chain, binding millions to a life they can't take. And the chain tightens first where the Japanese spend their whole life. Work. But first, the train, and here happens maybe the most Japanese scene of all. The trains are so punctual that, when one is 5 minutes late, staff hand out a delay certificate so they can prove at work it wasn't their fault. And in 2017, a company did something that went around the world. A train crossing Tokyo left the station 20 seconds early. 20 seconds. Nobody missed it. Even so, the company published a formal apology, deeply regretting the severe inconvenience to passengers. 20 seconds. A country that apologizes for a train leaving 20 seconds early is a country where the demand for perfection has no break. And that demand turns the Japanese office into a silent battlefield. The Japanese worker even has his own name. Salaryman, the man in the suit who leaves home before the sun and returns long after dark. Leaving before the boss is Meiwaku. Taking full vacation is Meiwaku. Calling in sick is Meiwaku. So the salaryman stays hours past the shift, often unpaid, because standing up first puts your comfort ahead of the group. And there's a word for that duty of enduring in silence. The dedication confuses any visitor. Napping at your desk mid-shift. It's called inamuri, and it isn't laziness. It's a sign you exhausted yourself for the company. Executives pass out standing on the subway, collapse onto desks, sleep at the bar after work. Pride. In a country like this, what would truly be shameful is stopping to rest. Gammon. The virtue of bearing the unbearable in silence without complaint. Swallow the exhaustion, hide the pain, never show weakness. An admirable strength when rebuilding a country destroyed by a war. But apply gammon to an office demanding 100 hours of overtime a month, and the result has a name, a statistic, and a cemetery. The result is karoshi. Here's the first of the 3 promises. Karoshi kills 2 ways: through the body, with heart attacks and strokes in men in their early 30s, found collapsed on their own desks, and through the mind, with suicide from exhaustion, like Matsuri. The government recognizes hundreds of karoshi deaths a year, and experts say families are ashamed to admit the cause. There's even a line doctors call the karoshi line. 80 hours of overtime a month. Past that, the risk of sudden death spikes. Matsuri worked over 100, and for decades that was treated as honor. Dying for the company was the supreme sacrifice of the good Japanese. It took a 24-year-old's death on Christmas night for the country to look in the mirror. After Matsuri, Japan passed laws limiting overtime and campaigned to release workers early on Fridays. Except almost nobody takes it. Leaving early is still Meiwaku. You can change a country's law. Changing its soul takes generations. And if work kills so early here, there's a corner of Japan where the opposite happens, where people seem to refuse to die. 900 miles south of Tokyo are the islands of Okinawa, which held for decades one of the highest concentrations of people over 100 in the world. In a village called Ajimi Live Elders, who at 97 still farm, fish, and dance. At the village entrance is a stone with a line that sums it up. At 80, you are still a child. Okinawa's secret isn't in any medicine. It's in 2 words. The first is ikigai, the reason to wake up, the purpose. That gives each day meaning. On the mainland, ikigai is usually the company, and at retirement the meaning evaporates overnight. In Okinawa, it's the garden, the grandchild, the next festival. Things that never retire. And the second word is more powerful still. Moe, a group of friends who commit to each other for life. You join a moe as a child. Toilets with more buttons than a spaceship, robots waiting tables. And amid that technology, Japan is one of the most analog countries alive, where the bullet train flies 200 miles an hour, but payments are still cash and many companies still use fax, where an employee approves documents with a wooden stamp, the hanko, instead of a signature. Japan lives in 2 centuries at once and sees no contradiction. And the symbol of that squeezed high-tech life is a light that never goes out. The konbini, the convenience store, open 24 hours. There are over 56,000 across the country. There you pay bills, buy concert tickets, and eat hot food at any hour. For many living alone, the konbini clerk is sometimes the only person they speak to all day. A good morning bought with the coffee. To breathe out of that pressure. Trade Tokyo for Kyoto. For over 1,000 years, Kyoto was the capital and the spiritual heart of Japan. It holds over 600 Buddhist temples and the Gen district, where at dusk you can still see a geisha cross a wooden alley, white-faced in short steps. In Kyoto, you understand the most beautiful relationship the Japanese have with time. Every spring, for a few days, the cherry trees explode and cover the country in pink. And then, in a week, it all falls. The Japanese even have a name for seeing beauty already condemned to end. Mono no aware. The sweet sadness of knowing nothing lasts. No other people learned so deeply to find beauty in the thing that ends. And above it all, visible from far on clear days, is the country's most sacred mountain. Mount Fuji, 389 feet of snow in an almost perfect cone, mirrored in calm lakes. Every summer, hundreds of thousands climb Fuji only to watch the sun rise from the summit. And there's a sharp saying, whoever never climbed Fuji is a fool, and whoever climbs it twice is a bigger fool. But behind every postcard is the other face of Japan, the one agencies don't sell. How many millions gave up? On the world and never left the room. And the third promise. The profession that cleans what's left of someone who died alone. You first see the box they live in. In Japanese cities, space is the greatest luxury. A single apartment in Tokyo can be 100 square feet, smaller than many parking spaces. A bed, a sink, a tiny bathroom, nothing else. For those without even that, capsule hotels, where you sleep inside a stacked tube the exact size of a coffin, and some live in that tube for months. That compression of space compresses the soul. Work in a bigger box and commute crushed in a car where white-gloved staff push bodies into the train, the world feels suffocating. Add meiwaku, the fear of failing and the exhaustion of gammon. And you have the recipe for the unthinkable. Close the bedroom door and never open it again. There's a Japanese word for exactly that: hikikomori. People, mostly men, who isolate at home for years, sometimes decades. They don't work, don't study, don't even go out for food. They sleep by day and live at night in a room lit by a screen. And here's the second promise, with the number that drops the jaw. The government estimates 1.5 million of them. 1.5 million people locked away. As if the entire city of Philadelphia vanished from sight, each one in their own room. And the trigger is almost always the same: a failed exam, a firing, a humiliation. One public failure that, in a country where shame outweighs life, becomes unbearable. The person vanishes from the world to avoid that look again. At first, everyone thought it was rebellious teenagers, a phase. But the years passed and the hikikomori didn't leave. They aged in there, and Japan found a new problem, named the 80-50 problem. Parents of 80, retired and getting sick, supporting children of 50 who haven't left the house in 30 years. And everyone does the same silent, terrifying math. What happens to that child the day the 80-year-old dies? Elders have died at home while the recluse kept, living beside the body, because asking for help would be the greatest meiwaku. The shame that builds the politest country locks these doors and leads to a way of dying that barely exists anywhere else. And it isn't only the recluses who are alone. A record number of Japanese never marry and never have children. There's a nickname for men who lost interest in dating: Sashoku danshi, herbivore men. Many prefer the safety of the room and the screens to the risk of another person. And a country that stops forming couples slowly stops being born, because Japan is aging and shrinking faster than any rich nation in history. More people die than are born every year, 500,000 more. Nearly a third of the population is over 65, and one figure sums it up cruelly. For over a decade, Japan has sold more adult diapers than baby diapers, a country that buries more than it swaddles. Rural towns are becoming ghosts, with millions of abandoned houses that have a name. Akiya, schools close for lack of children. In some dying villages, residents sewed life-size dolls and spread them through the streets to pretend the village still has people. More dolls than inhabitants, and nobody feels that emptiness more than someone who reaches the end with no one beside them. And here, finally, the third promise. The saddest word the Japanese language had to invent: kodokashi, the lonely death, when someone dies alone, at home, and the body stays undiscovered for days, weeks, sometimes months. Not by accident, but because around that person, there simply was nobody left to miss them. Estimates run to tens of thousands a year in Japan. The country only woke to this horror because of a case in a housing complex called Takiwadera outside Tokyo. In 2000, workers entered an apartment and found the skeleton of a man in his early 50s on the floor. He had been dead for 3 years. 3 years. Nobody noticed. Rent and bills were deducted automatically from his account every month, so the money kept paying for the silence. Only when the savings ran out did somebody finally knock. It was that way, through the missing money, not the missing person, that Japan found one of its own had vanished 3 years earlier. The case shocked the country and revealed a truth nobody wanted. If it happened to one man, it could be happening to thousands right then. And then came a profession that barely exists anywhere else: tokashu seiso, specialized cleaning. Companies whose only job is to enter the apartments where someone died alone and erase the traces of that departure. They collect the belongings of an entire life that nobody came for, and each object silently tells the story of an ending that didn't have to be this way. The workers always describe the same scene. The calendar stopped on the day of death, food still in the fridge, the television, sometimes still on, talking to itself for weeks to an empty armchair. And with haunting frequency, one single thing arranged carefully on the table. The envelope with next month's rent set aside and ready. Even while dying alone, that person still thought about not being a meiwaku, about not being trouble even after leaving. And there, the circle closes. The same word the child learns at 3, the one that built the most organized country on the planet, follows them to the last breath, alone in a 100-square-foot room. Don't be a meiwaku. Don't weigh. Taken to the extreme, that beautiful rule, it becomes a prison. It teaches a nation to hide pain so well that nobody sees the other person drowning. Because Japanese loneliness isn't a lack of people. Tokyo is the most crowded city in the world. It's born from the rule of never being a weight on someone else. Asking for help bothers. Crying on a shoulder bothers. So each person carries their own mountain in silence, with a polite smile until it gets too heavy. A whole country made of people too strong to say 3 words, "I need help." But it would be dishonest to end this story only in the dark. Japan is slowly trying to change. Cafes where you pay only to have a conversation. Apps connecting the elderly to volunteers. Groups copying Okinawa's moe, trying to teach big cities what that fishing village never unlearned. The same country that invented the word for lonely death is now inventing new ways to keep company. Looking back, the question from the start finally finds its answer. Why is the most perfect country also the loneliest? Because perfection has a price. A people can learn never to bother, never to fail, never to weigh, and build trains punctual to the second and streets without crime. But the same discipline teaches each person to suffer in silence, and nobody was made to carry everything alone. Japan is the most beautiful and frightening proof of a simple truth. Order and affection aren't the same. A country can get right everything measurable. Punctuality, safety, Okinawa's longevity, and still fail at the one thing no chart shows. That someone will notice when you don't show up. The biggest lesson of this land isn't in the temples or the robots. It's in that envelope on the table. But Japan is only one face of this planet. Out there is the poorest country on Earth, the coldest place ever inhabited, forgotten islands where the rules of reality don't seem to apply. Corners where life borders the impossible and someone still calls it home. Each with its paradox, its hidden price, its beauty that hurts. This channel exists to go there and come back with the story nobody told you. If this made you see the world and your life a little differently, if it reminded you of someone you could message right now, just to know they are okay, that's why this channel exists. Subscribe and come to the edge of what reality can do. Because somewhere right now, someone is setting an envelope on a table, and we still have time to knock on the door.